Thank you. Welcome. I'm Susan Batang from the Quiet Zone Coaching. And today we are going to talk about on No More Losers, Dating After Divorce. We are going to talk about 3 ways that our parents' relationship influenced our own. Okay. So a lot of what we believe deep down about what relationships should look like comes from watching our parents. And you're saying, yeah, duh. Okay, well, not always duh. Okay. When I was a kid, I thought my family was pretty normal for the time. My dad worked, my mom stayed at home. Okay. But my mom was deeply depressed, and there might have been some other things going on there too. And my dad was very anxious. And they had some spats, but they didn't really fight. Okay. They just kind of sparred with each other. My mom was kind of dismissive and was constantly angry with my dad for some reason. And we never understood why, what it was, that she was angry at him for. And at the time, I swore I was not going to treat my husband someday the way that she treated him. Okay. So I went the complete opposite direction. Okay. I became a people pleaser and a love chameleon. Okay. So between my poor self-esteem and my desire to be kind and loving and gentle with my partner, and the opposite of my mother, I ended up with a lot of codependent relationships. And I also ended up being kind of a doormat. Okay. And I let people take advantage of me over the years because I wanted to please them. I did not want to be the dismissive, angry, depressed woman that my mother was. Okay. It took years before I finally understood the role that observing my parents' relationship had taken in me and my own relationships and in influencing my own life. Okay. So what I want to do is give you 3 questions that'll give you the 3 ways that your parents' relationship influenced your own. And you can ask yourself these questions and see if you can think of anything that you hadn't realized before about how your parents influence your relationships. Okay, so the number 1 question is, how did they treat each other? Was it with love and respect? Did they treat each other dismissively, with anger? Did one parent behave differently than the other? Or did they both fight with each other constantly and yet they loved each other deeply? Because some families are like that too, okay? How did they interact with each other? Did they treat each other poorly, well, somewhere in between? How did that go? Number 2, were your parents equal partners in the relationship? Now, those of you who are a little older, like my age and above, especially, had parents where it was a much more traditional role that the wife and the husband each played. So the wife would be submissive, and the husband was the boss, and he was the one who called the shots, and the final decision went to him. And there might be some collaboration, but not always. Okay. Those of you who are younger, your parents may have been a little more progressive, and there may have been a little bit more equality in the relationship. So that might have influenced, how equal were they? And we'll explain why in a second. And also the 3rd question is, how did your parents resolve conflict? What did they do when there was an argument? Okay. Now, some of us may have had absent parents. Okay, that's always a possibility too. But we learn how to behave in a relationship by watching those interactions. Okay, so we may do, you may do what I did and say, you know what, I'm not doing that. Okay, I'm not treating my husband the way my mom treated my dad. Okay, or you may not even realize it, but you are influenced by watching this, because when you're a child, this is all you know. This is normal for you. This is the way everything is. This is the way life is, especially when you're very young. And that's when our opinions and our modes of behavior get formed, is when we're really small, okay, before we go to kindergarten. So, and that is the time when we don't understand that the way our parents are behaving with each other may not be the way that parents behave with each other, that they don't have to be that way. We think that's the way it's supposed to be. So we learn our roles in a relationship by watching our parents. Okay. This is what we accept as being the truth. Okay. Right? Makes sense? So if you had an absent parent, okay, you may not be clear on what those roles should be. So you may not, if your father was absent and you're a girl, you may not know what it is that you expect from your husband. And if you're a boy and your father was absent, you may not know what role you should have. And that goes the other way too, in case you had an absent mom. And your parents one could have been absent from death, divorce, it could have been any reason. But if we don't have that model, that role model, we won't know what is an appropriate behavior. We will find an outside model to base our attitudes on. And you may not even realize that you do this. Okay, a lot of this is subconscious, but it influences our relationships now, right? Okay, you can see how that would work, correct? Okay. So what did you learn about relationships and how people should interact with each other, and what roles should be played by men and women in relationships? What did you learn from your parents? What examples did they give you? Were you aware of them? And you decided you weren't going to do those unhealthy behaviors, or did you decide that actually looks pretty good? That's what it is. Did you consciously make that decision or not? And if you do have unhealthy patterns that you learned from your parents, how do you undo that? How do you undo unhealthy behaviors and put healthy behaviors in place and attract the ideal partner for you and have a healthy relationship? If that was the role model, that if your role models weren't healthy, well, then how would you know what to do? Okay. So here's how you do it. What I want you to do is go to my website, www.thequietzonecoaching.com/services. You want to go to the services page and pick up a perfect partner assessment. And this is free. This is my gift to you. There's no charge for that. And we'll talk about some of those patterns that maybe you picked up from your parents, and the number one strategy that you can use starting right now to stop that pattern and break the pattern, so that now you can move forward and find the perfect partner for you. Isn't that what we all want, is to have somebody in a healthy relationship with us that we love, that loves us as much as we love them? Sure, of course, we all want to feel good. So if that's something that you want to do, go to my website, grab that perfect partner assessment. I look forward to speaking with you very soon, and I will talk again tomorrow. Namaste. Have a great night.